Okay, so I'm back on the Rogers LS7Ts today. 7T, 7 and T, not 70. Difficult to say that, but yeah, maybe they could have picked a better name. So I've got my new woofer, and the chassis on this is quite a bit bigger than the original Rogers chassis, or probably Swiss tone those drivers were. So I've got to open up this rebate and also make it a bit deeper. Now ordinarily, excuse me, I've got a stinking cold. I want to get this done and then go to bed. So ordinarily I'd probably use something like a rabbit bit like this. So you change the bearing depending on how much you want to cut out. And as you can see with that bearing, that's going to cut out pretty much exactly the same as we've got here, using this inside surface as a guide. And where they've put the metal inserts in, they are actually a little lumpy. So even if I had a wide enough one, which I think I have somewhere, but God knows where it is, I probably wouldn't want to use that. So yeah, that would be kind of the ideal way of doing it. But I'm a bit stifled with the bezel that's round here to get the router on there properly. So the other way of doing it is to cut out a circle in a piece of MDF, which this fits in there really nice and snug. So basically that gives me a guide for opening this out. So normally a flush trim cut router bit has the bearing on the top like this. So when you're, for example, when I'm using the router and you've seen me do my veneering, I'll be running this along and this will be flush cut in the veneer. But I want the opposite of this. So you use this, which has the bearing on the other side. So what I can do with this is now use my cutout as my guide and drop this in. The bearing will hit against the side here, and I'll be able to take all that out nice and neatly. And the other bonus is this lifts the guide away from the lip. So I can have this and get the thing out. I can have this in the router at the right height, turn the cabinet face down and run round it and cut that out. So that is the plan. I also want to go a little bit deeper. So I can also, let's get rid of these, put this on here first to allow me to set the depth. So I just measure from the top here to my MDF and set the depth I want that rebate to be. This will get fixed in position with a screw through here and a block underneath to screw into, and the same in the tweeter cutout as well. So I can lock this in to one side. I've ever so slightly cut it off center so it's right when it's pushed against one side, and that should be perfect. Right, I'm going to get these cut out, and then the rest is cabinet refurbishment and then crossover work to integrate that lovely new 8-inch woofer. Okay, so my board is securely fixed on there. I've used kind of plates of ply to hold it in the right position so it can't move any further this way, and there's a board under there stopping it moving that way, pushed up against this side, and we are eyeballing it even all the way round, so pretty good. Set the depth on that router bit, so vacuum on the router table, and we're ready to go. I'm not going to film this, I'm just going to get on with it. You've seen me do loads of router work on the table. Right, that is a beautiful flush fit, and because I'm using a nice new flush cut bit, our cutout is really clean. Let me just take the driver out. So there we go, really nice clean cut on the MDF, and I've taken out the middle bit as well, so that'll be this bit sort of standing up. Plenty of meat there for the 5 fixings to bolt our new woofer in. Very nice indeed. So my template works really well. You have to be a bit careful with MDF with the bearing because it's soft and it kind of squishes it as it goes around, but yeah, worked well. Right, so with a bit of heat I've taken off the old vinyl on the back of this one, but cut round the original label on the back and also our inspection label here. So when I spray these, I'll mask these up, but you can see how sun damaged this is. I mean, the whole back of this one was all crinkled up. It's discoloured here as well and bleached out the black. This is really nice, so's this vinyl, so I'm keeping that, but obviously I'll be masking up the badge, masking this up after I've given them a sand. So they're going to be sprayed black again, so I'm not going to sand them too hard, but I really just want to sand them and see what I need to fill and what I don't, and then yeah, get that filled, a final sand, and then get them sprayed. Once that's done, I can reassemble the speakers, throw the wires from the tweeter and the woofer out the original holes, rework the crossover to integrate the new woofer, and then get the covers done. So I must crack on. So I've sanded this one, and most of the knocks and bits and pieces have come out. They've feathered out quite nicely. So I'm not entirely sure what wood this is. Obviously you got the grain that's so prominent because they were sprayed black, so this is in the grain. Kind of makes it look like bamboo, really. They're not edge banded because they're sprayed, so you can see the laminations of the ply there. But yeah, they look quite nice. That's the only kind of missing bit of veneer, but that's just sanded out, feathered out quite nicely. Once that's sprayed, you're not going to know. So yeah, that was probably the worst cabinet. So now to do this one. The fronts are all masked up now, and you might be wondering why I'm masking them up if I was going to spray the speakers black, and that's because I sent photos of the veneer, the way it's come up, to my client. I like the look of it, and I suggested, you know, did you want to keep this? Because personally I think it looks better than the black. And yeah, the long and the short of it is we are going to keep the veneer, so it will get another sand now. I only sanded it enough to paint it again down to 240 grit. I will take it to 400 now after I've sprayed it, because there will be some overspray, and that there's no point in masking it if I'm going to sand it again. So yeah, it's sort of changed a little bit really, but I think it's going to look really nice. Right, so I'm going to start measuring and integrating this woofer. Now I haven't set up particularly well in here. I haven't put any of my sheets up or anything like that, and that's because it's quite noisy outside. You can probably hear it raining, and yeah, it's not worth me doing critical measurements at the moment. I want to get something in the ballpark and see where we're heading. So microphone is 1 meter away from the speaker. I've just got the original crossover at the moment down there, connected up to the drivers, and so far just shooting an initial response. Out the box, it's not too bad. So my main concern at the moment is this lump I've got here, and that's in the woofers range at the moment. So if I just highlight the woofer, you can see that it's peaking up between 1500 and probably 2.5 kilohertz. So I need to address that within the woofer's range. Otherwise they're summing well. Crossover point is around 2.5 kilohertz. Tweeter's doing what it was anyway. The tweeter is a little bit hot at the moment, so that level does want to come down. I'm going to leave this woofer just exercising for an hour before I do any more measurements. Let it loosen up a bit, otherwise I'm not going to get a real representation. What I'll probably do as well is take the inductor, capacitors and inductor off the woofer circuit on the other one, so I can clip them together here and see about working out this kink. I'm suspecting it's probably going to be the second inductor on the third order filter. I might just start fresh. I don't think this crossover I use, or the low pass filter I use on my HA38, which is the same woofer, will work with this. So yeah, that's my goal for this afternoon. Right, well, this hasn't taken a lot of doing really. This is where I'm at the moment, so let me just highlight my line there, if you can see that. So don't concern yourself too much with this. That's room reflections. I'm not gating these measurements either. Once that woofer's broken in, and if I put up my sheets and bits and pieces, most of this will come out. So if you can imagine a kind of line coming across this. So my woofer's rolling down nicely now without that peak, and our tweeter is coming up as it was before. I'll do some off-axis measurements because I think this flattens out. If not, I'll notch it down, but yeah, it's right up there at 10k. Crossover point is still the same, about 2.5 kilohertz. So what have I had to do? So originally the woofer circuit used a 2.32 millihenry inductor into a 0.4 millihenry inductor, and then in between those we had a 4.7 and a 1 microfarad cap down to ground, so making a third order filter. So just by getting rid of this inductor, so making the circuit second order, kind of sorted out that peak really. I've changed the capacitors to a 4.7 and a 2.2 at the moment, so the value that would be around there would be a 6.8 with a resistor in series with it to ground, and that has sorted out the woofer circuit really, really nicely. The tweeter circuit I've slightly attenuated with a 2.2 ohm resistor. But yeah, I'm going to do off-axis measurements and see if any peaks or dips appear. But off the bat, that's pretty good. So yeah, like I'm quite experienced with how that woofer works. Second order filter always works well with it. So yeah, let's see what we like off axis. Right about the tweeter when you go off axis. So on axis measurement, I'll put these up later in the video. 15 degrees horizontal, you can see the energy in this part of the tweeter range is coming out, and 30 degrees, yeah, nice. I mean, look how flat that's staying. I mean, that's really good. A 2.5 kilohertz crossover point is reasonably low. So, I mean, that is lovely. Yeah, I think the best thing for me to do is to actually put these together now and have a listen. Cool. Right, I'm going to wind this video up here. So the crossover work and redesign to get the woofers integrated has worked out really well. Like I use on the HA38s, I only need a second order low pass on those, not a third like the original woofers in these had, and it's integrated with the tweeter really, really well. I've ordered some custom wound inductors for these because the wire I want to use is quite large. The test inductors I was using lost me some sensitivity, and I added some resistors to the tweeters to bring their levels down. So I want to use air core inductors with a lower DC resistance to get the sensitivity back up. I'm only talking a couple of dB. Their rated sensitivity is 88 dB, and when I measured the working speaker originally, I was getting that. I'm now down to about 85, 86. So like I say, with the lower DCR inductors I'm going to use, we're going to get back up there. So, and the crossover point is maintained the same, the tweeter circuit has maintained the same. It's just worked out really well, and I think those woofers in there are looking really good. The port tuning is pretty much correct as well. So I'll do a part 3 where I'll properly measure these, because the measurements I've done at the moment are pretty crude. I'll try and put some sound clips in there as well. The covers I'm going to do shortly, and yeah, just kind of conclude it all. But they'll get a final coat of oil as well at the end. I do like that veneer. I'm glad we decided to keep that and just oil it, because I think that looks far better than them being sprayed black again. These are very unique speakers now, and to me that woofer is a significant upgrade to the original. There's more body, more bass there. Yeah, really good. Okay, I'll stop rambling and catch you in part 3 on these.